Here we go, episode 7. We got our boy Ross O'Connor in studio.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No relation to Brendo.
No,
Not that
no,
we're
not
aware
yet.
Ross is a filmmaker, producer, director. He wears a lot of hats. He's here with us. He's doing a special project on some of the fighters that we work with. We'll get into that. And obviously, Brendo. It's been a little while. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
It's been about a month. Whatever.
Maybe 2 weeks.
No, it's been a month.
Since the last episode. I haven't seen you since then.
All right, whatever.
Not a month. We did actually have to skip a week because I was traveling for Nate Andrews. He had his first fight in the PFL. Unfortunately, he didn't get the win last Thursday, but man, fought a UFC vet, a guy that was in the semifinals of the tournament last year, in Chris Wade, and it's a phenomenal fight. Like he stepped up, he did really well. He you could argue he made a couple mistakes, but I mean, he went with like a top 55er worldwide and showed that he belonged there. So we're super excited to find out who he's going to fight July 25th in Atlantic City for round 2. And if he gets a finish there, there's still a good chance he makes the playoffs. So we're excited.
Yeah, he looked real good.
Looked like he was seconds away from an armbar at the end. Too,
Yeah.
right?
You could just have 30 more seconds.
Right.
But, he's in good spirits. He went on vacation now, and he's going to get back to training. I'm just waiting for Ray Steffo to text me to tell me who we're fighting next round, and we'll go from there. But other than that, pretty much big focus right now is Rob and Calvin. We fly out next Tuesday. Mm-hmm. By the time you guys see this, it might be like the day we fly, so depending on when this airs. But Tuesday the 4th, we'll fly out to Chicago to check in with UFC for UFC 238. Rob is the first fight on ESPN TV. So like if you have Xfinity, it's channel 849. So it'll be the first fight right at 8 o'clock Eastern. So it's awesome. We know exactly what time we fight. We'll fight 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern. Ricardo Lamas, ranked number 10. Big win, sets up a lot of big fights. We can get that hand raised, and it really does a lot in kind of progressing his career. And then come back for a week. I mean, the whole time we're out there, we're going to have Rob Font with us, too, and he's fighting in UFC Greenville. As of right now, they're showing him as the co-main event. It's not official on the website, but I believe he's the co-main event, which would be a pretty cool honor for him. First time being a co-main event. He'll be out there with us in Chicago, so we'll be getting Calvin ready for the fight. We'll be getting Rob, still getting his sessions in, making sure he's getting pushed. And then, obviously keeping his weight in check. He'll just be with perfecting athletes the whole week, so he'll be good. And then come back for a week, and that's our last week that we train with Font. And then that Tuesday the 18th, we fly out to Greenville for UFC Greenville in South Carolina. And hopefully get his, not hopefully, we're going to get his hand raised out there. We're number 12, fighting the number 11, Cody Stamen. So that'll be a really big fight, and, another win over a top 15 guy, and it'll set us up for a really big fight after that. So it's kind of what we've been up to. Other than that, just the cool thing we've having going on this whole camp. Ross, get into a little bit about your background, and then we'll talk about the product. But we've had Ross following us around for like the last month. Yeah. Like real world style. It's just cameras in our face. Like
too real, probably, for some of you guys sometimes,
So I don't know, you want to get into a little bit about, I know you went to high school with Calvin.
Sure.
There's kind of the connection, but just kind of get into your background and then what you're working on.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start. I'm from Methuen, Massachusetts, same as Calvin. We graduated the same high school year. Probably, we knew each other well, but I played different sports than him, so we kind of ran in different friend groups, but I certainly kept tabs on him, as soon as he even started as an amateur fight, probably like a year after high school. It was funny. It was kind of just always popping up on Facebook, he had another knockout. And so, I always thought it was exciting, and I thought he was like an entertaining guy to watch. He kind of had a natural charisma to him. I left.
He's easy on the eyes too, right?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. No, but yeah. So I went to school up in Maine, played football at a small school, was an English major, went to a finance job after school in New York City, and that very quickly realized that just wasn't for me. I did have a passion for filmmaking. I'd done a little bit of it in college, just enough to get a taste and know that world was out there, and it was like, something that I had anticipated enjoying enough that it would never be a job. And I think the reality of that is it fortunately has felt like that a lot. I'm sure you can relate to that too. So about 15 months into banking, I kind of came across this producer, knocked on his door, went in there, basically told him that's exactly what I want to do. How do I get in? How can I work for you? At the time, he wasn't really hiring, and I said, well, I'll work for whatever you can pay me. It was a pretty small fee, kind of stuck it out for what ended up being 4 years there. What was, like a small little intern stipend became, respectable salary. And I worked with him in developing projects for 4 years. That was where I worked and did the long, strange trip and kind of cut my teeth on the back end side of filmmaking, like the producing from development stage through to the finished project without like actually, for pressing record. I kind of, I almost felt that I was becoming like a foreman who didn't really know how to build the house himself. And just the way I operate, I never felt comfortable with that, and I wanted to kind of get my hands dirty. So about 3 years ago, I left, and I started just kind of making stuff independently, working on projects with friends that were smaller films, and kind of working my way up to where I've been the last year and a half, 2 years, kind of working on some independent films some are just starting to come out. I've had some premieres at like Sundance, Tribeca, and Cannes this year, all working in various degrees. Some I produced, some I was just kind of on set doing art department stuff, helping out friends who were producers, accumulating skills the whole time that I thought I didn't have. And now I kind of feel at a point that, it's all come together. And I feel like still an amateur, but kind of more complete amateur than I was, 2 or 3 years ago. So to tie that all back in with Calvin, maybe about 2 years ago, maybe about 18 months ago now, I started kind of emailing him saying, like, let's do something. And I didn't even know really what it would be at the time. I just kind of wanted to, like, shoot something cool with him, even if it was a 3-minute video of him training. The idea wasn't totally mapped out in my mind yet. We'd probably touch base every 3 months or so. And then ultimately, this fight got announced maybe 8 weeks ago now, and maybe 7 weeks ago he kind of was like, hey, let's do this. So, I borrowed some gear from some friends that, kind of not owed me favors, but I called in every favor that I've accumulated over the last 2 years, got the gear, and just started showing up. And the first day I got there, I remember one of my anxieties about the project was like, okay, I don't know if like I'll get all the access I need. They're professional athletes. It would make sense if I didn't. But like, day one, Tyson was like, oh, access won't be a problem, and it hasn't been. And it's been probably the most fun thing I've ever done, following these guys around, seeing what their life's like. It's been really eye-opening. It's been different in ways that I thought it wouldn't. It surprised me in ways I didn't expect. I guess like all surprises, but yeah, it's been a blast, and I think we're getting really good stuff and a good look at what goes into being a world-class athlete in this crazy world that is MMA. Which was new to me. I've been a sports fan my whole life. I've always kind of watched UFC from afar. I would listen to Joe Rogan's podcast and stuff, and I kind of could speak to it colloquially, but like if people started really talking talking about the sport, like to this, even now, I'm still such a noob to it that, I very quickly show my cards that I'm not the most experienced guy, but I think that it's given the project an interesting perspective because I'm coming in totally blind to it. So yeah, that's kind of the whole.
So I guess
a little about me.
you had reached out to me. Well, Calvin told me. He's like, hey, my buddy, I saw you filming at his show.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the front row because I wasn't cornering any guys. was sitting in the front row. I saw you filming, and I didn't know who you were.
Yep.
And then Calvin had reached out to me and said, "Hey, this filmmaker Ross, he wants to do a project. Can you reach out to him and just kind of figure out what he's looking to do?" And that's when we started talking.
Yeah.
And then we met at Lozon's that first Saturday, and then we exchanged information. And then and then we just set up starting the film. I don't think access was ever going to be the problem. Like I think a lot of people come into that, and as long as, I think I told you on day one, as long as you're not trying to control the narrative, and
Right.
you're just kind of a fly on the wall, so to speak.
Right.
I was like, you'll get along with the guys great, and you've been great with that.
Yeah. No, it's been great, and I think doing documentary. A lot of times, the hardest part is just that base level of trust. That there's something weird about Methuen, that it's like Calvin and I just graduated together. We said hi to each other in the halls and stuff, but we didn't hang out. But like that level of trust was kind of already there, which was great. So we could kind of hit the ground running with that. But yeah, you guys have been like totally like a lot of the hard part about documentary stuff was almost not even there for this, which has been really great. And yeah, I kind of always wanted the fly on the wall perspective. Because the second you put a camera on someone's face and press record, they're not their natural selves. So it's like the trick to documentary, and if you're trying to make a specific documentary, the trick is to try to get that natural self as much as you can, knowing it's almost an impossibility,
Yeah, I think the tendency when the cameras are on is everybody tries to be on their best behavior.
Yeah.
You're trying not to say anything controversial, but
Yep.
I mean, I think the beauty of like the team that we got going on is they're all good people. They're not
Right.
really cutting corners. They're not doing anything shady. So
Right.
they can
Exactly.
be as natural as possible, and they're not hiding anything. So
Right.
I think it comes off super organic to someone like you, because you're like, wow, these guys I really like this all the time, and
Yeah.
they really are.
Yeah,
Obviously
exactly.
with the off the cuff, sometimes inappropriate jokes and stuff, but. But that's probably mostly me.
Exactly.
I think you're getting like a true representation of like what their life is really like.
Absolutely, yeah. And that's that's gonna make or break the movie too, which has been great. Because seeing the guys train is one thing, and I think of it as like Rocky. Like everyone remembers the training montage, but it's 5 minutes of the movie, and a lot of it's he and Adrian, and he and his struggles. It's like the life. Those guys, like these guys have been totally inviting me in, especially once that I think I showed them. I'm not trying to make the jinx here. I'm like, I don't need to find any deep dark secrets. Not that they even have any, but like, it's I'm trying to make a like cool sports documentary. I've referenced like Pumping Iron a lot with Schwarzenegger and Lou Ferrigno, only in that, I think of that documentary as very fly on the wall. You're just kind of in watching them work out, but in hanging out, you meet the other bodybuilders outside of them, and they're all different characters in their own unique ways. So I use that as a reference a lot. I don't need anyone's dirty laundry for this.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, you guys are so busy and working so hard, like there's no time for dirty laundry. They're like, well, maybe there is. I don't know, but yeah.
Did you want to?
Yeah.
Did you? So I don't know how filmmaking works, and so I kind of said to him before this, I go, we're gonna ask you the filmmaker version of the MMA questions we usually get that are like, does it hurt to get hit in the head, and like super stupid ones.
Yep.
But so when you're putting this project together, do you go into it with like a narrative of what you want to say, or do you let the action speak and then you pull out of it like what type of vibe you get from it, and then that kind of controls the direction you're going to go with the story you're going to tell? Because I assume like every movie or documentary or whatever, there's kind of a takeaway, right?
Yeah, totally. One of my producing partners, Eric Schultz, who's producing this with me, has put it. It's kind of like your film's your thesis statement, right? Or your film's your thesis paper. You need to have a thesis statement. That's particularly true, I think, when you're making a scripted movie, because you're going in there, every day is plotted out. It has to be tight. There's massive crews. If you miss something, you go over. That's overtime. You might, that's how, in independent filmmaking, it's not uncommon at all that you don't even have enough money to get through like the shooting because you just didn't plan it out. People don't know what they're doing, and everything goes to crap. With documentary filmmaking, one thing I learned doing Long Strange Trip, which was directed by this director Amir Barlev, who's made some amazing documentaries. He made one on Penn State, Happy Valley. He made one on Pat Tillman, the Cardinals linebacker, the Tillman story. Like he makes great stuff, and I'm, call me biased because I worked on his last project, but he's to me like one of the best documentary guys that ever was. And the reason for it, I think, is with the Grateful Dead documentary, for example, he didn't have a pitch to a fault. Like I remember the band's people almost being annoyed, like, well, we need like an outline here. And he's like, I can't have an outline until I shoot this thing. And that's the difference between documentary and narrative stuff. Like it's so regimented in narrative that documentary, you kind of have to have an idea of a thesis statement, but you also have to go out and just cast the widest net possible. So you try to catch everything, and then you kind of find your story really in the edit. So yeah, I've had ideas for what it should be. They've changed over time. We're not even to Chicago yet, so they might change again. I'm sure they'll change again. But as it's going, I have more broader themes that I want to kind of incorporate in. And by incorporate in, it's kind of like they're the themes of the characters. I just have to try to hone in on them. So yeah, I don't even remember the question at that point. But yeah, it's I think of I don't even know if this is a good analogy, but like being on a set with a script and actors and everything is kind of like building a ship in the bottle, where you have to be precise and everything's precision. And then this is kind of just like a rowboat out on the ocean. It's just grind out, do what you have to do, put in the hours, shoot everything, know what you need to shoot, know what you're, I was saying to you, like, some stuff I don't, because it's just me, like, I'd rather constantly shoot people and then shoot I can shoot the building any day of the week or something. So yeah, so it's just kind of grinding it out, in that sense, yeah.
Now, I will say this. If you haven't seen Long Strange Trip, it's on Amazon. It's about the Grateful Dead. It's like a 6-part series. Really good.
Did you already see this before you knew
Yeah.
it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw it like 9 months ago.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And the first thing I said when I saw the last one, I was like, when's the next season coming out? But it was really, really good.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I don't know. I've been a little removed from that one. There was always talk of maybe doing like a part 7 because it ends on Jerry Garcia's death, and they've gone on. So, we'll see. I would love it. I mean, anything Amir does, I'll make. And you can kind of see in that. I would recommend his other movies because every one of them takes like this, takes the story, like Pat Tillman and the Penn State scandal, and kind of like extrapolates it out to give these like broader ideas on the world. You don't have to be a Grateful Dead fan to watch that doc, which I love, and I think me almost being an outsider to the MMA world, it can be a competitive advantage in that sense too, because I don't think you'll have to be an MMA fan to find a lot of interest in what it is these guys do. So, that's what we're aiming for.
Nice.
Yeah.
So basically so just so the audience kind of understands, probably about a month ago, you started coming in, pretty much meeting us in the morning, whether it be like Ubering to where we are, getting picked up off the highway, taking a train. At the beginning, you were like a lot, like you wouldn't ask for anything, and we're like, dude, we can pick you up, So now, like,
I didn't have to hitchhike anymore.
Yeah, that's right. You pretty much going with us in the morning, and then you're like with those guys the whole day. Like I see you in the morning sessions that we have, and then at Lausanne and stuff. Yeah. But then you're with those guys at night, and and then you're crashing at a buddy's house in Methuen or wherever.
JT Waldy.
Yeah, JT. And then
Yeah.
you're taking a couple of, weekend trips back to Brooklyn to, get supplies or whatever.
Yep.
And then you're back here grinding out. Next week, you're on the same flight with us on the way to Chicago.
Yep.
And then you're going to be there filming the whole time. You'll be in the locker room with us. We got your credentials for that. And then back home with us, filming another week. And then are you going to South Carolina? Or we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
So we got to get those credentials. But and then at the end of South Carolina, when Font's done fighting on June 22nd,
Yeah.
then you go back to maybe you're going to film some B-roll stuff.
Yeah,
whatever.
that's when I think I planned. In my mind, I kind of see a world where that's where the story of this doc can end, and I can go and edit it. And again, if I'm missing a street sign here and there, I'll come back and shoot it. It's actually been so nice to I left Methuen. My parents now live in Maine, so I've enjoyed just like it's a homecoming for me too.
Yeah.
So I'll have no problem coming back to shoot a few more days if I need it. That's where having producers actually comes in handy, because I think I have more experience producing than directing, and I think there is a point with directors where you as a producer have to say like, no, dude, you have enough stuff, keep so. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's really made me fall in love with the area again, and New England and stuff, and I haven't been back in about 10 years, so.
I don't know. I could never live. You live in Brooklyn. I could never live in a city like that. I think I would just go crazy.
People do.
It's just it's like so much going on. It's like we were talking about this on the way here. It's like a different energy when you're there. Like you could wake up in a dark room, but you're in a city somehow.
Oh yeah.
Versus
man.
being out here in the country and you hear trees by the highway. I don't know, man.
Even this weekend, I felt it. Spending a month back here. It's funny, staying at JT's place. The first few nights, I couldn't fall asleep because of crickets. I mean, I traffic and taxis make me fall asleep, but it was an adjustment. And then I went back, and the whole weekend I was I had this low level stress, and realized, it's got to be just New York. There's just this weird buzz that you can't get below that level of relaxation, So driving up here was oh my God, this is great. Why am I not here?
As far as the project,
yeah,
I think we've talked about this a little bit off air, but is it a standalone, like Notorious? Conor McGregor had a documentary. It was a standalone, one episode. There you go, put it on Netflix, then it's done with. Or is this going to be? Are you trying to do a mini series? Are you trying to do seasons? I guess.
Yeah.
What's your or could it be see what comes?
Well, yeah, I have an idea for it. And I see it as a 90-minute documentary right now, standalone. But an old boss of mine, this guy Eric Eisner, once said to me, content is king. If you own the content, that's the most valuable thing. And I think every day when I'm shooting, it's at the very least, we have really good content here. So, it's a traditional route, a 90-minute documentary, again, a pumping iron. But I don't know. The world's changing so fast. Maybe I find that it's cool in 10-minute installments. Maybe it could be a pilot episode for a show that continues and does the same thing for different fighters' camps. It's not a thing for me to decide right now. Again, that'll kind of come together in the edit. But if I had to decide right now, I see it as a standalone 90-minute documentary. Yeah. But and
then you just try to sell it to whoever.
Yeah. So this is this is kind of self-financing it. I mean, again, like I said, I said to you on the ride up, if I haven't said it now, I've kind of every favor that I've accumulated, I've started to call in. So borrowing cameraman's equipment, sound guys' audio, just kind of getting favors from
JT's
people.
couch.
JT's mother's cooking, which has been great. I've been even with you guys. So, in kind of the filmmaking hustle I've been doing when I'm not doing film stuff, I am doing work producing for music videos or Facebook videos, branded content type stuff, and have recently lost my license for 30 days because I blame it on work. Yeah, so it was like the most inopportune time to be shooting a documentary where, you know, I could have probably lived out of a car. But yeah, like, you know, you guys have been like picking me up off the street. JT drives me places. It's like, but man, a lot of days I'm like, I couldn't be more of a freeloader right now, you know, which kind of is like.
For just a PSA, he was using Waze while holding his
Yeah.
phone and driving. He wasn't like
I was
drinking.
using
and
Waze,
driving.
and then I was driving a truck full of equipment at like 4 a.m. in the morning to go up to shoot this music video. I had all the stuff, and I was driving it up, and a cop pulls me over, and it was like I was on a parkway in New York, which is a no-no with trucks, and apparently I didn't have the license to drive a truck. So like, yeah, I'm not blaming anyone for not having a license right now, but yeah, it was pretty terrible timing, and frankly, I was worried about even being able to pull this off. But yeah, I mean, like, you, Calvin, Rob, like, you know, picked me up and stuff, which has been great because I'll shoot interviews in the car and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely that part's been a little less fly on the wall than I probably could have been.
What's the weirdest place you picked him up at?
Burger King off exit 48 or 46.
Yeah,
or
that's kind of our spot.
We picked him up there. Felt bad the other day. He bought me a coffee. I'm like, well, I don't drink coffee, so I think he had two.
I just had two. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It's
We were gonna give them to one of the other coaches, but by the time we got out of the car, they were both gone.
That
Long
happens.
drive.
Yeah, I think you know, anytime we have someone that wants to shoot content and come in, it's always about sorry, my eye itches.
Yeah.
It's always about like the vibe. You know, I've talked about this on previous episodes. Is fight camp, you got to carry a certain vibe the whole way through, and it changes. There's ebbs and flows to it, but you always got to like read the room,
Yeah.
and like know the vibe. And even like the first day we were setting up your shooting, I was like, listen, you know, come in, just do your thing. I was like, the guys might be a little standoffish at 1st, but then once they see that you're there to like do work and you're gonna hustle, like, then they're gonna be like your boy. And now
Right.
you look at you, Rob and Calvin. You guys are like brothers. Like, where,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
are you taking Ross today? Like, he's our boy. Like, I'm like, well, he's gonna go with me today.
Yeah.
So I think you've been able to do that because sometimes you have people come in, and I'm not saying anything specific with anybody we've worked with, but
Sure.
you know, you have these people come in and then they start trying to like direct the practice or
Yeah.
like, hey, can you guys do this over there? The lighting's better. It's like you haven't done any of that. Like, you've not been a distraction.
Yeah.
And like I told you when we first started, you know, talking about working together, I was like, anytime the camera's around, you get more hustle out of the guys.
Yeah.
Like, that's like you said, when the camera's on, everybody's a little different.
Right.
We can use that like as a coach or a manager, whoever. Like, we can use that to get more out of camp because these guys are they're gonna grind a little harder. Like, anytime the UFC cameras come or the ESPN cameras or the 24/7 whatever, when they, you know, Fox, when they come and they start filming, there's a little bit extra oomph in that practice.
Yeah.
You know? So having you there the whole time, these guys are pushing and they don't want to, you know, they want to win, they want to look good, and
Right.
there's definitely like I guess you could say like a collateral advantage to having you around as
Yeah.
well. And obviously, you know, the products sounds like it's gonna be pretty cool. I know you've been showed us some of the content you're getting. It's you know, it's exciting and like intriguing to see what you come up with.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's, you know, it's got to make them feel special. You know, because when I fought, I think it was one of my second or third pro fight. I had this guy Ben Zadell followed me around and he was shooting an episode he was trying to do like a mini series.
Yep.
He followed me around for like 2 weeks, and I know like it really made me feel like special during camp. I'm like, wow, like someone appreciates my grind, like they appreciate what we're doing, like they're trying to show the art, they're trying to show like the amount of work we put into this, and I know it was really motivating to me. I got my ass kicked at the end, but Tommy Marcelino, but you know, so I ended up losing the fight, but like it almost made the documentary better because then it showed like right after they did the outro. And I was like, hey, you know, this is part of the sport. I got to get better. My coach has said this. I got to believe him. I got to trust him. And, you know, so now and I get to see them go through it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It is motivating because, you know, these guys, like you said, like, you know, we've said this off camera, just like you, we're all independent contractors here.
Right.
We all have our own hustle, our own grind, and our own little journey that we're on. But, like, these guys going through this, you know, fortunately, Rob and Calvin are together. But they're going through this, you know, this grind to fight camp, and they have someone that thinks what they're doing is is cool and noteworthy that they want to like document it.
Yeah.
And that's got to
Yeah.
be. I know for me it was motivating,
Yeah.
and I got to assume it's motivating for them. But then on the flip side, that you probably don't even realize this, but like your grind motivates them too. Like they see you walk around with your camera with your neck hunched over and you're sweating,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Look at this kid! This kid's working hard too."
Well, yeah, I'm a sweater, but like working hard or not. But yeah, no, I mean like
It's very symbiotic.
It is because it's hard to complain about like a knot in your shoulder from holding a camera all day when you're the only guy in the room not getting punched in the face. So like there's that, you know, like it's very. We talked about this too. Like there's a weird similarity to you know, being an independent filmmaker and what they're doing and what you're doing, and I've almost felt reinvigorated being around these guys again, because there's an element talking to Calvin and Rob where it's like, you know, we don't sit around waiting for the next paycheck that we get every 2 weeks. You know, I finish a project no matter what it is, and I think like as I grow and get hopefully bigger and bigger projects, like every time you finish one, you're like, what the heck do I do next? You know, what fight do they have next? And it's easy to just freak out about that. But what I think, what's cool about them is like that they kind of look at the inevitable unknown that they find themselves in every 3 months, and it's like, well, F you, I'll show the world. You know, like we'll see who comes out on top.
Yeah.
And like I love that. I mean, it's like, yeah. It's like living with Rocky for a month, which has been awesome. And I mean, I've been texting everyone about that and like showing clips about that, because they just say stuff. It's like they're trying to like motivate themselves, but it's just motivating stuff, because they are really grinding, and it's, you know, like. So going back to like what I didn't expect, you know, when I first reached out to Calvin, I didn't really know about his team, or like even Rob Font, that they were like teammates. I didn't know what teammate meant in UFC or MMA. So when I first reached out to Calvin, I kind of thought it would just be a thing about like he and his brother Jameson, who was his former manager. And then, you know, it's been growing and growing, because I see this like community of just like guys and girls who decided like I want this life, and I'm going to double down until I get this life, or if I don't get it, I'll have said, you know, I've tried every way I could. So like if I can show that, that's cool. That's what I think is like the most inspiring thing, because these guys are just investing in themselves. They're independent contractors. They pay their teams. So, you know, if they don't win, they're, after all their payouts, you know, they might not even get a lot. But it's like that doesn't really matter to them, because they're like following their dream, and they think that at the end, if they just keep pressing, like it'll work out for them. And like, you know, as a guy who's, you know, trying to do his own films and stuff and not really go through the studio system, like not only can I relate to that, like it's something I needed to hear from them, because because it's easy to kind of look at that unknown and just be like, I don't know. But at some point, you know, like you're your own champion, and you have to say like, no, F you world, I'll show you what I have. And that's what I get from them, and I just see it in their eyes, and it makes me want to like run through a wall. Not that I will, because I'm more talk than all of them, but, you know, metaphorically run through a wall.
What's that quote? I was trying to remember this earlier when we were talking. Is I traded in a 9-to-5 with a steady paycheck, working 40 hours a week for someone else, to work 80 hours a week for myself with no guarantee of money.
Yeah.
You know, like
That's a quote?
there's a quote that sums it up, something like
Okay.
that. But it's like they say it more eloquently than me. I couldn't find it, but that's basically what it says. It's like, you know, you could do the 9-to-5, get the steady paycheck like you did in finance. I used to be in tech sales.
Yeah.
You know, probably make a decent income.
Right.
But you're miserable. Like,
Yeah.
it's not what you don't find passion in that. Like, you don't go to sleep at night thinking about how you can do good at work the next day. You don't wake up in the morning charged up for the day. Like, you know,
Right.
what you're doing, what Rob and Calvin are doing, I put myself in the same bucket. Like, I'm motivated to keep
Yeah.
moving forward on this path. and there's a lot of like similarities between what you're doing. Like you might never sell this. Maybe they think
Right,
it sucks.
yeah.
I mean, you could be
out of
awesome, but they don't.
yeah.
It's out of your control.
It's like the fight. Yep, exactly.
And you're gonna go in there. You're gonna put your best foot forward. You're gonna try to make something that you believe is awesome. Use
Yep.
your creativity and your skills, and you're gonna put something together. Maybe it's a home run. Maybe
Right.
it's not. But you're still trying.
Right,
you know?
exactly.
And these guys, they could go out there and any MMA fighter knows, like, you go out there and like get cut within 10 seconds and the fight's over. You didn't even get a chance to fight. And you just put in this whole camp. Or you go out there, be the hero. You can be the guy that climbs up on the cage after, flexes, gets
Yeah.
a microphone in your face from Joe Rogan, and you
Yeah.
get to call out who you want to fight next. Like, but I mean,
It's an inherently American thing too. Like think of the Teddy Roosevelt quote. I'm gonna
Joe
butcher it, but
Lozon, Joe Lozon has that.
the man in their
at his
arena,
house,
like,
yep.
and everyone,
There's that quote
everyone
over
else
his
has
toilet.
their arena. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
It's a cool like sign that they have. It's the man in the arena quote.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and like, there's a lot like there's a Jack Kerouac quote too, who's a guy who wrote from Lowell, Massachusetts, wrote On the Road, and he I'm gonna butcher it, but it's kind of like no one remembers. He named a few mundane things. He was like, "So climb that goddamn mountain," and like that, that's kind of what these guys are like, and if I'm not, like I said, I think they trust me now because they realize I'm not trying to make the jinx. I don't need a reveal at the end. I don't need some surprise that everyone. I just need to show that and like make it, like just allow them to be as inspirational as they are. Not just like by getting sound bites of them saying inspirational shit, looking into the camera, but like working out for 5 hours for 6 days a week when no one sees it, driving 4 hours a day to go. You guys go to like, I'll walk the people through the schedule if you haven't already, but it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys are in Portland, Maine on Monday. Tuesday they're in Chelmsford, Mass, then Haverhill for boxing. Wednesday typically down in Rhode Island, sometimes like south of Boston.
Yeah.
Thursday it's back to Chelmsford, Mass, and Haverhill. Friday it's back to Maine. Saturday it's down south of Boston. Like, it's like insane amounts of driving, especially for New Englanders. Like, growing up here, going from Brooklyn to Manhattan, I'll do that every day. It'll be a 50-minute subway, and then I travel a lot in my day, so I'm a little used to it. But I remember coming home and like my friends will be like, I don't want to go there. That's like 20 minutes away. It's like 20 minutes away, So for New Englanders, you guys are a rare breed of people who, put like hundreds of miles on your car every day.
I think it sounds sometimes further than it is. Like when I tell my friends that don't live
Yeah.
in England, I'm like, yeah, we're in Rhode Island this day, we're in Maine this day, and the Massachusetts, I'm in 4 states every week. And they're like, that's crazy, but they're at a state where
It's
you
true.
could drive
Like
4
Texas,
hours
they
and
go
still
to
be in the same state.
groceries,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. No.
So I think it's a little bit of a misconception there. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I know those guys are doing over 500 miles a week. I'm doing like 750. It's
Yeah.
it's a lot of driving. But like Calvin just said in a recent interview, it's like you can utilize that time.
Yeah.
Like he's listening to motivational books and stuff like that. I think he's watching the Phil Knight.
Phil Knight one, yeah.
The
Shoe
Phil Knight
Dog.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Calvin's like he's very analytical. He likes to
Yeah.
like think about things, put in that work, like with the the mental side that he
Yeah.
wasn't doing that before. Like he was listening to music, whatever. But now he's like really doubling down. Like he always says, like I double down on myself.
Yeah.
And he's doing that now. He's working on the mental side of it.
Yeah.
He's just trying to think of ways to get even more motivated. And obviously he's pretty motivated as it is.
He said that's helped with by doing that, listening to music less. Now when he listens to music training, it's like
More
much
motivating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think he said like save the music for the hard workouts.
Yeah.
And like let me learn something while I'm driving.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, no, they're intellectual guys. I mean, I knew the sport wasn't just guys showing up beating the crap out of each other. I knew that much, but I think a lot of people don't. Like even people I've talked to, they're asking me questions, and like it's like, I had one mother of a middle school kid when she was like, it's fascinating, but I don't let him watch it. It's too violent. And I was like, well, then that's the people that can get a lot out of this, because it's almost not about the violence. Like that's not really been talked about once. It's like it's it's a science. It's, when you guys are grappling, it's like human chess, and so it's fascinating to see them work on the mental side too, and I think it probably does only help.
I think I said this to my brother one time when he came out to a fight week. I said, now that you see this side of it, I was like, it's going to ruin the sport for you as a fan. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I was like, do you just see, like, I'm here, my wife's pregnant, she's about to have a baby, and we ended up losing the fight. This was a few years ago when Cameron was born. The guy lost the fight, go to the hospital, come back. 2 hours later, her water breaks. Like, I'm almost missing the birth of my son. Like, I'm there the whole week talking to my pregnant wife. There's other coaches that have kids at home. But then you look at, like, we go on these UFC fight weeks, you see, like, oh, there's generally 22 fighters here, 24 fighters. They each have, like, 3 to 4 people there with them, sometimes more. All those people have families. All those people, like, everybody's pretty much getting paid half the amount if you lose. Mm-hmm. And then you start to see this trickle-down effect where you're like, I saw that guy in the, all fight week with him and his wife and his little girl in the hotel and giving her a kiss goodbye. And then you see him get knocked out. And you're like, oh, this sucks. Like,
yeah.
But yet you think, like, the other guy won. So you're, like, happy for him and his daughter,
right.
So then you start to realize, like, oh, this just sucks. Like,
yeah.
like every fight I watch now, I'm like, oh, I like that guy. Or, and it just makes it, like, hard,
Yeah.
And my brother, so my guy ended up, he got knocked out in the first round, and my brother left. It was like the second or third fight of the night.
Yeah.
And then I texted my brother. I was like, hey, did you want to meet me after the fights? He's like, no, man, I already went home. He's like, I'm like so bummed.
Yeah.
I'm like, this sport's, she's a miserable bitch. Like MMA, it's just, there's no, there's no forgiveness.
I can't even imagine, because like in the month that I've known these guys, it's like it's going to be different watching them in there. Like wanting them to win. Like I said, I went to high school with Calvin, so every time he fought, I was rooting for him. But like this time will be different because I know he and Rob. I was there for 90% of the training, and it's like, I'm going to sound like my mother, but everyone deserves to win.
Yeah.
like they put in that much work.
Well, Brendo did a couple of fight weeks, and you were saying like the most stressful part of fight week for you was the fight because you knew it was on the line.
Yeah, it's heart rate gets. I mean, I don't. I just kind of hang out with you guys, and when I think it was the point that I realized it was we were in Moncton and Calvin got into the ring. I was like, God, my heart wouldn't stop. Not that I wanted to, but it just kept going faster and faster until it was over. So
yeah,
it'll get stressfuler.
Yeah.
If that's a word.
Stressfuler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that? I mean, well, I guess I was gonna say, does it make it harder to coach? But I guess you can't coach if you don't know them. But like, what how does that impact your coaching when on the day in the fight? Like,
dude, I get nervous as a coach.
Yeah,
like I say to these guys, like, I get more nervous when I'm coaching than I did when I fought. There was a couple fights where I was so nervous I couldn't warm up. And I always say this, like, I remember one fight, it was the fight I got a knockout. I was in the locker room, and like Loco Lobo, and he was like always like a teammate coach. Like, he was never one of my direct coaches, but he cornered me for a few fights, and he's always like a mentor because he's older, great guy, he's always around. And I remember he could see that I was just like, I'm not feeling it tonight, coach. And he's like, Tyson, you've done this 1,000 times in the gym. Just go out there and do your thing. Yeah. And it like calmed me down, and I went out and got I got the knockout. And it's amazing that little thing could help. But on nights where I coach, I'm nervous in the locker room too. But I mean, I don't know if I should be admitting that, but I feel like I should be, because if I'm not getting nervous as a coach, like I'm competitive, right? Like, and I'm passionate about what I do. If I'm not getting nervous on the coaching side, then I shouldn't be doing this anymore. Because I was nervous as a fighter. If I was like stone cold fighter, didn't get nervous, then yeah, if I'm a coach,
right,
don't get nervous, who cares? Like, that's how I am. But by nature, I'm the type that I get nervous. Mm-hmm. I know what's on the line, and I want to do well. I want them to do well. I want to make sure that I'm ready. I do a lot of preparation, especially with video, and then on the mat stuff, like making sure I'm ready for this fight. So that way, if this kid goes to do something, I'm yelling it like before he goes to do it. Like, I can predict things, and I know the adjustments to make, and I take that very seriously. And I get real nervous before fights. Like, I always say this, like, before, I remember high school football double sessions. I'd like the first day I would go and I would get like the nervous shits. You're crapping all morning at 5:30. You're nervous about the first practice, and I would get like that during my fight. And then I remember Rob Von, his UFC debut. We were Mandalay Bay, and all of a sudden, like, I go and I sit down to take a poop, and I see his shoes, I was like, nervous poops? He's like, yep. So we're just like there together. It was like that little moment. And yeah, man, I feel the same thing as a coach, but
Yeah.
I think that's good for me because it means like I'm dialed in, because that's how I was as an athlete, whether it be wrestling or MMA or football or lacrosse. So I don't think it affects me.
Yeah.
I think it makes me like hurt more when they lose. Like, I don't get too high when we win, because I already start thinking about the next one. There's already that, I have to whisper in their ear like who they had to call out and all that stuff. I start thinking about the next one, and I know that the higher we climb, the thinner the branches. It's just gonna get harder. So I know what's ahead of us. So I don't think like, oh, we made it, like, because we didn't. Like, we have goals, and we haven't got them yet. So I get that. But when we lose, like, I do take it pretty hard, and I think of like, what did I do wrong? Like, what could I have done better? And obviously it's a team effort. Everybody plays a role. It's never just the fighter's fault, but it's also never just the coach's fault. It's like, it's a collaborative thing. Sometimes it's out of your control. But I do a lot of self-reflection when they lose, and I know, what opportunity might have been lost, and then you start thinking, well, how can we get that back, But yeah, man, knowing these guys like I do, I think it makes the losses that much harder, and like you wear it a lot. And
Yeah.
even when I see those fights replayed, it still stings, and I feel like, oh, I want that one back, but I think if I did, if I didn't care, then it would be time to do something else.
Right.
And I would assume that's probably a lot of the same that you feel after something gets released.
Yeah, that's funny. That's very true. In fact, I think I've been thinking about that on this. It almost I don't think it ever releases to, like, it'll never match your lofty expectation. You know what I mean? Like, I think probably the most watched thing I've done or been a part of, like the Grateful Dead thing was my first thing. I was like kind of a lower man on the totem pole. I don't want to make any other claims, but yeah, when that came out, I mean, it did really well, and it was, but it wasn't. Yeah, the process is more fun, I think, than whatever happens with a win. And it's not really a win-lose. I mean, but yeah, like after it's released, it's like you probably see it at a premiere. That can be good or bad, but it's never that, like, it's never what you would think it would be in terms of how great it could be. But and then to having nerves, it's like, yeah, I mean, you finish one project as you produce one film, and then you go to do another one, and you don't even remember what you're like, what does a producer do again? You almost have to like psych yourself back into like, oh yeah, I know this, like your coach did, like, what you're doing, just trust yourself. But every time, and I think like there's a documentary on Steven Spielberg where he talks about that, even, which was comforting. He was like, every time I walk into a set, I'm like, I have butterflies and I'm nervous, and like I feel like I forgot everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if that guy feels that way, we're all right. But yeah, but like that's why I've been loving this so much, because like the process is so fun. And don't get me wrong, I'm like competitive about it too. I want to make it. I think it will be good. But I kind of have to remind myself, like, making it as good as I can try to make it is the fun part. Like, the rest of it's kind of like, if you're waiting for fun after you release whatever it is you've made, like, that's you're gonna have a long life of not a lot of fun, because that moment's so fleeting, and usually it's not what you think it would be, however good or bad, and yeah, like, enjoy the process,
Yeah, you definitely got to. Fight camp's a grind.
Yeah.
Like, I can see why some coaches get burnt out, and some fighters retire early. Like, I get it. Like, if you're not all in,
right,
you got to be all out.
Right.
And
it's easier to be all out.
Yeah.
Way
easier. I think I always tell the guys, I was like, this isn't what we have to do, this is what we get to do.
Yeah.
And I tell some of my guys, like, that I think maybe don't take it or maybe if I see they're effing off a little bit, or like, listen, like, you have a lot to complain about. I go, but there's a lot. I could probably give you 100 people over here that would pay to be in your spot right now, and you're getting paid to do it.
Yeah.
They would gladly trade their position with yours. And I think, when you flip the perspective, you can't make them want it, but you can sometimes remind them of, like, the opportunity they have and, like, how privileged the spot that they're in. Whether they earned it or not, they're in a spot that a lot of people covet and would pay to be in.
Yeah.
If you say someone, hey, you make your UFC debut, get paid 10-10 or 12-12, there's guys that would fight for free and pay their own way out there just to get that shot.
Right.
So I think it kind of puts into perspective. It's like, listen, we get to do this, and as long as we're enjoying the journey, like, let's see how far we can take this, like, because we have goals and let's freaking crush them. But
Yeah.
but yeah, if you're not all in, you got to just be all out.
Yeah. Yep.
I'll give you these.
Yeah. Well, one of my good friends' fathers, who was my little league coach growing up, like, good friend of the family. In the last year, I was talking to him, and he was like, "How's it going?" And I kind of was like, because it can be a grind. I don't make the money I could be making doing other stuff, but so I was kind of like, he had his own businesses, and he was like an entrepreneur and stuff. And he said to me, he was like, "Well, the minute you stop, you stop. So go until you can't stop." And that's kind of same thing you were saying. Like, you're either all in or you're all out. And it's good like advice from the little league coach who gave me a lot of good advice throughout my life. But another batch of it, yeah. Because it's not it really is like the camp. It's a grind trying to do your own thing.
Other than the grind, what's been the biggest surprise about the process so far?
Of these guys?
Yeah.
Probably the teamwork. Yeah. And then first that there was a team. Like I said, I thought it was kind of Calvin and his brother. And then, I knew that I knew you were his manager and stuff, but I didn't know, like, how involved you would be. And just, like, the fact that there is such a big team, that it's essentially a full-time job for the whole team, in addition to some guys having other full-time jobs and stuff. And then, like, Rob and Calvin have such a good friendship that they're fighting 2 weeks out from each other, and they're, like, not only each other's, like, best, like, sparring partner, workout partner, but they're almost like, they're just brothers at this point. So, like, the camaraderie, within the team's been, like, the biggest surprise, I'd say. Yeah.
What's the biggest takeaway you've gotten so far?
Don't complain about shoulder pain because these guys are getting punched in the face. No, I think that's a good question. I don't know. Maybe just like when I was entering this and thinking of all the unknown variables, I was worried that I wouldn't get a lot of stuff maybe if I wasn't being the guy who was trying to direct stuff. But realizing, like, no, there is a lot of liberty in, like, I don't have a sound guy with me. I don't have producers with me. I don't have digital. What would normally be a crew of 10 people, 5 people, the smallest, is just me. And what I thought was an extreme limitation has been a bit of, it's been helpful in getting that fly on the wall type feel. A big takeaway, if not the biggest, was like one of my what I thought would be a huge limitation has been an incredible asset, which has allowed me access to probably get more comfortable with the guys. Because if I showed up the first day, like, with 6 people behind me, it would have at least taken longer, and I wouldn't be in the car with them all the time, right, and that type of stuff. And so I think the biggest, that's been a takeaway. whatever I just said.
Have you filmed anything funny? I'm looking specifically for about Tyson, but if you have anything else that actually might make the film.
I definitely have some comedy that I want to get in there for sure. One that I don't know if it'll make it or not is Greg's knockout punch. But yeah, I mean, can I even say that one? It was like like some.
You can say, if we can email that to Howard. I bet you can put it in. This so
God,
see what we're talking
I'll
about.
find it.
I'm assuming this is Rubella,
dude. We're at Triforce on a Wednesday night, and he's filming Calvin. All of a sudden, we get kind of bumped into. He turns around, and they have this. I mean, I'll call him. He's probably a great kid. I don't know him. No, we'll call him a goon. This guy is like 6'3", 6'4", 300 pounds, big dude. He goes in there, spars with all the guys, and just goes rough. And it's like that's like his Super Bowl. So he just goes. And Greg, he like grabbed Greg's head like from the back and like pulled his headgear off. And Greg was like so mad. He's like, "What the frick?" So Greg comes up to him and just goes, "Nope," and just punches him in the face. The kid falls back, dies. Greg's like, "Not today."
He was saying all day.
All day. He's like, all day. And he's got it in slow motion.
Yeah.
It's freaking awesome.
So I kind of missed it because I'm turning around, but I get enough of it that you see what happened.
Yeah, we can we'll definitely get that little clip to Howard. It's like 15 seconds or something. It's freaking funny.
There's definitely been a lot of funny stuff. I mean, I've probably shot 50 hours of footage at this point, and so outside of kind of making little notes to myself, I kind of have to. It's like it's organized, but I haven't combed through it all. But when I do take, it's amazing the stuff I've like forgot about, and then see again. And there's definitely there'll hopefully be some. I'll try to make it funny. It's not up to me to make them laugh, but if they laugh or not. But
people like to laugh though.
Yeah, exactly.
When we wrestle in Maine, can you tell how close I am to having a heart attack? I'm like trying to drill.
You look good.
I'm like trying to just keep going, but I'm like secretly dying. I'm like, and I think they kind of know, but I'm pretending like they don't. I'm like not in wrestling shape. I'm just trying to go, get up. I'm just like, get up, But
it looks good on camera.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
So I was actually in shape. I'm lying. Phenomenal
Your
shape.
quads look nice though.
Yeah.
Your quads.
The only
look
thing
nice.
it's my redeeming quality.
Do you have any predictions for Rob and Calvin's fights?
I'll say one other surprising thing actually.
Okay.
The fact that like the top level world class professional athletes still take classes with the youngest kids, first day people like moms with kids who are like being babysat in the next room. Like that was fascinating to me. That was like we said like if I went to a workout class that was basketball and like LeBron was there getting his sweat in, that's a crazy part of this sport to me.
I always say that's the cool thing about MMA is that like you're never gonna go and practice with Tom Brady. If you do Sunday flag football, you're not practicing. Tom Brady's not throwing you passes.
Right.
But you might get the Tom Brady of the UFC to hold mitts for you or hit your mitts or whatever. Like it's kind of cool. You still get a lot more access to athletes in the UFC than you would for the other major sports.
Yeah, there's none of that barrier yet, and it's a really weird time because like the sport's big enough that it's not up to me to say there should be or not, but like it could be, definitely could be, and probably should be, as it keeps getting bigger. What was the other question?
Yeah, you asked me.
Predictions on Rob and Calvin's fights.
Oh, I think they both win by knockout. I mean, I don't know how I could not think that after, I mean, I know the other guys are training too, but it's like, it just seems like the stuff they've been working on, and like, again, I'm an outsider here, but it looks like they are just improving every day in the month that I've been here, and I know it's been a few months since they both fight, so I'm sure they've improved markedly since then, and like, they build on each other, and like neither of them will like quit a sprint because like they're both like neither one's gonna stop first, and I don't know if the other guys have that, but I mean like I don't know. I think they're only gonna get better and better because of that, and because of both of their individual skills and work ethic. And I mean, hey, I chose them to do a film because they had an it factor, and I still think they do, and I think that's gonna reflect in the fights.
I agree. I think they definitely have a healthy competition.
Yeah.
You know, they're pushing each other to get better, but they're also like neither one wants to lose to the other one. Like, so it's a little bit of banter, healthy competition. They motivate each other. So it's been, you know, they're both a blessing for the other one. And they both are like super selfless when it comes to, you know, I'm not in fight camp. Excuse me. You know, now it's my turn to be a teammate.
Yeah.
You know, and they both had that switch. Now, did you notice a switch flip when Rob all of a sudden got the bout agreement?
Yes. I mean, that was kind of, I think, my first week. But I did, like, you know, just in the eyes, I think. Like, yeah.
Because we were at SOS, I think, and I was like, I'm just waiting for that email to confirm it. And then I was like, all of a sudden, you know, right now we're talking about probably having a fight, and then all of a sudden we're going to have one. Yep. And then now all of a sudden we're in camp. You know, we were already acting like we were in camp, but, you know, then all of a sudden then it gets more real.
Right.
You know?
And, you could definitely feel it. You could feel it. Yeah. Which was cool. It was definitely cool to see. Yeah, and I was golfing with them shooting them golfing when he got the call from you that it was happening.
I didn't get invited to go golfing.
Do you golf?
I've gone with them once, but no, I'm always on.
I feel like they take it pretty seriously. No?
They're way better than me, both of them. But a couple years ago, it was me and Rico versus Rob and Calvin, and me and Rico won.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. No
was it best
deal.
ball?
Calvin kept trying to double down. Yeah, we were just playing scramble rules. So, like, me and Rico's best ball, you know?
Yeah.
And by the time we got to 18th hole, we were, like, 15th hole, we were already up by, like, 6 holes. Yeah. So Calvin's like, oh, double down. He kept trying to push it. No, you got to push it. Like, you guys still lost. So they had to buy lunch, I think.
That's funny.
But.
At Merrimack?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah. No, it was. And I got sunburned really bad. It was a little sunny, but.
Did you wear a hat?
I had a hat, so I had like a sunburn on the back half of my head and the neck.
And, I get one of those Greg Norman hats.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has the drape in the back, like a cape?
No. Looks like a cowboy hat, but for an Australian guy.
Oh, okay. I could do that.
Yeah.
So one last question, like as far as the project goes, like so you finish filming on the 22nd.
Yep.
You know, we get back. How long does the editing process take? And
I mean, I think the party line's 8 to 10 weeks. I think to edit, and then there would be sound. I have like a composer that I want to work with for music. He's lined up, also a Methuen guy.
I just assumed when you say composer, I assumed it was a girl.
Oh no!
I don't know.
No, he's.
Do you know a lot of girl composers?
No, the composer sounds like a girl job. I don't know. Like I'm not trying to be sexist, but
that's what it
I don't know a
like.
single composer. Super sexist.
No, he's another guy who graduated our same year. And
from Methuen.
From Methuen.
There you go.
And he'll make whatever I pump out. He'll bring it up, 20% on Rotten Tomatoes from wherever I leave it.
There you go.
I mean, no, he's like this guy's like Mozart. Ben Cosgrove, he's unbelievable. I'll show you some of his stuff, but he'll that. So the whole process will it'll take a while. The edit takes a while. You're kind of still tweaking it, and then you have I'll have to fix sound. That's another few weeks. Then you retouch color. There's a lot of moving parts. So it's it's definitely a process, but it's kind of you're mixing like trying to be perfect and getting it right with the pressure to get it out there, because I want it to be out there as much as anyone else.
Will you do some sort of premiere, whether it be a local movie theater or something like that?
I would be down for that, definitely. We'll see what happens, but I mean, whatever.
Calvin has a key to the city,
right? Exactly.
So if there's a theater there, I'm pretty sure we can get into it. Right?
Exactly. Maybe we can start a film festival and we can have it there. But no, I'll definitely have a premiere for all you guys, or even if it's just a small screening for everyone who's a part of it. I'd love to do that. That'd be great. And hopefully it's something that you guys can be proud of too. And, at the very least, it'd be like a time capsule moment for everyone.
I look at this stuff as I have a 3-year-old,
yeah, exactly,
a 1-year-old, well, 3.5, 1.5, and then a daughter coming in September. All this stuff that we're doing now, and the way I conduct myself is I want in 10 years when they're 13, 11 and 9, like I want them to look at this and be like proud of what I was doing, you
Right.
know, like, and I think probably Rob and Calvin have a bit of that in them too, and so do you. You know, this is all stuff that's your legacy.
Right.
Like I look at it as like I want them to see like how much I cared and how hard I tried, and like, but I also want them to see like, because they're, you know, as Cameron gets older, he's gonna remember like he's starting to realize like, oh, Daddy's not home this week. But I want him to see like what I was doing, you know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
and also like even this podcast, it documents like how hard it is to go away. You know, you're going away. It is a sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot of travel coming up. Like, I want them to be able to see that, like, I wasn't gone because I didn't care, you know?
Right.
It's like,
Yeah, it's definitely not without. It's definitely burdensome in that way, you know, because you know you miss out on. Yeah, you do miss out on things. You miss out on holidays, you know, and that type of stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting weighing that it's. That's the funny thing. It's like I don't know if, like, I chose this life. I chose that I don't really want to have a 9 to 5. I don't know if I'm right, but that's what I chose, you know. And I actually have no idea what's right, and it's probably just different for everyone. But it's yeah, and like it's cool. It's cool from a storytelling perspective, seeing that it's incredibly burdensome on everyone, and they do it because they love the sport and their family in it, regardless. You know?
I wouldn't even say the burden. I would say it's like
Or,
everybody's like
sacrifice.
sacrifices.
Sacrifice is a better
Burden
word.
sounds negative. It's not
No,
a
yeah,
negative thing.
I meant
It's-
sacrifice,
It's the reality
yeah.
of what it is. Like, you know,
Right.
everybody's sacrificing. These guys are sacrificing
Exactly,
time where they can
yeah.
sleep in. Like we're all sacrificing.
Yep.
But like I think this stuff, you know, as my kids get older, they're
Yeah.
gonna be, and then even like my friends and family, like half of them don't even understand what I do.
Right.
And just like you said, a lot of people don't understand like what MMA fighters do. Like they're gonna be able to see this is what Calvin and Rob do on the daily.
Yeah.
They're gonna get to see like how much Kathy does for Rob and you know all that stuff, and they're gonna kind of see that whole thing. So now when they
Right.
watch whether it be Rob or really any other fighter on TV, they're gonna
Right.
have like a different appreciation for it.
And like what Kathy does is like 100% necessary. It's not like she's just being nice. Like Kathy is like so integral to the team. Like so like everyone needs to be there. Everyone is there, and I don't know. It's just like the coolest. One of the coolest things about it is, you know, I've been in a little bit of a film bubble. Like Calvin was getting a haircut the other day, and some girl said, "What is MMA?" And you know, he was laughing. It's like it's funny because I live in this world where it's all my whole world. I was like, I can relate to that because, you know, my life in New York City, it's a lot of times I'm talking about movies that came out that probably most people haven't even seen outside of New York, you know, and like that bubble of being in that, and like it's kind of your world and all consuming. And then going to another bubble has been really nice, and it's like there's an interesting, I think, like really good documentaries like Red, White, and Wasted and stuff we were talking about let you get into another bubble that seems so weird and so foreign to you, but when you're in it you realize like there's so many similarities to your own grind, because everyone is you know, I actually like don't want it's funny I say the 9 to 5 is not for me. That's not to say like that's not its own. Like everyone's out there just doing the best they can, trying to.
Except for millennials,
you know,
they're not doing that much.
No.
exactly.
Their grind is to figure out how not to grind.
Right, exactly. But you know, there's like a universality to it, and like being in another bubble has opened up my worldview a little bit to realize like kind of how ridiculous this little film bubble thing that is. It's like, you know, people arguing over what movie's good or not. It's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Do you like it or do you not?
Weird artsy films.
Yeah.
New York, such a weird place.
It's there's no place like it.
I'm excited to finish up the next couple weeks and see how this comes out, and I think we're all looking forward to it. I think it's gonna be awesome. Like I've seen some of the short clips that you've done, and it's definitely high quality work.
Nice, thanks, man.
You know, I'm just, you know, we appreciate you doing this. Like I know you think like you appreciate us letting you, but it is very symbiotic. Like,
Well,
we
no, I
appreciate you.
appreciate it.
You know, you know, we see, you know, grinding with your camera. You see how he carries it around. He's got little kinks in his neck. He's sweating. Like he's hustling too. So we appreciate you being a part of the team, and I think this will pay off for the guys. It'll get their story out there a little bit and gain them some fans, and hopefully benefit you, either both financially and from a brand standpoint and your resume.
Absolutely.
So I think we appreciate you doing this. Like it's fun for us, and
like I said, it's been the most fun I've had doing any project.
That's awesome.
And it's because of the people I'm following around. At the end of the day, it's like life's just who you surround yourself with.
Next week we're gonna get deep dish pizza.
Oh yeah, so I've been like sneaking off around the corner to eat pizza and Fritos and stuff. Like we were at Calvin's place the other day and it was like 4 p.m. I was like, I haven't eaten anything, and they're like, you want anything here? I was like, no, I'm good. And I went and I had like Fritos and I just pigged out because I'm not cutting, but I don't want to show it to them. So,
yeah, I'm sure they appreciate it.
Yeah,
but I'm also sure they wouldn't care.
I don't think they would.
Yeah.
I was just like, I don't know. Again, the whole fly on the wall thing. But I'm definitely gonna have deep dish pizza.
Chicago.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
It's gonna be fun.
But where can people find you? I know you're not huge on social media, but you do have it.
I need to. I guess I gotta get back on the horse. But yeah, it's my Instagram's @therealrossOC. And I haven't really posted in the last few years, but I guess I should start up again. So I'll start. And then, I have an IMDb, Long Strange Trips on Amazon Prime. There's a film I worked on. So like 3 films are coming out this year. They premiered. One premiered at Sundance. It's called Premature. Small kind of Harlem love story movie. This movie I produced called Premise. I'm really excited about that thing. I'm most excited about of stuff that's coming out, and that's this science fiction movie that's kind of like a real mind bender, kind of like a Memento or Pi type movie. That's finishing up this week. I worked on this movie, The Climb, that just sold at Cannes Film Festival to
With
Sony.
Miley Cyrus?
No. Unfortunately, they couldn't get her. So yeah, I don't know. Like I'm a little hard to find, but a lot of the stuff that I worked on is finally starting to come. I mean, it takes you shoot something and then it takes 2 years.
Right.
I say 8 to 10. I want to hustle to get it out, but we'll see. It's always, it's like then someone finds it. In the best case scenario, like someone buys it from you, and then it's 6 months from there where they release it. So it's always a little process, but yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, I'll be easier and easier to find as this gets closer and closer to being done.
No, man, we appreciate you coming. So at the
No.
Real Ross OC on Instagram.
Yep.
Give him a follow, and then
Get me some sponsors.
There
These
you go.
guys are the king of sponsors. I need some sponsors.
So then we have our YouTube channel. It Takes a Team. It Takes a Team podcast on YouTube. We're also on iTunes. We have a Facebook page, It Takes a Team podcast, and then Instagram, It Takes a Team. Yeah, just follow, and then every time we appreciate the likes, the shares, the comments, the feedback. It's all obviously we're learning as we go too, so we just keep appreciating so I'll bump into random people that I'm thinking like, nobody watches this, and then I'll see someone come up and like, I really liked the podcast the other day, and it's like it means a lot. So we'll just keep trying to bring in cool people like you, and let people see what we're doing.
And if you like the podcast, tell your friends.
That's right. Tell all your friends. Nice. All right, guys, we'll be back with episode 8 in a couple weeks. We appreciate everything, and tune in.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thanks. This was awesome. A lot of fun.
Howard, that was different. I said tune in.